Hello everyone, trying to learn Redux but have got more and more confused when you have deep dived into it by seeing these images like action creator, action, dispatch, reducer, state, this complete life cycle, or maybe try to refer the documentation and have got trapped with these buzzwords like provider, connect, map state to props, map dispatch to props. If the answer is yes, then this video is definitely for you. I'm going to explain you each and every fundamental of Redux that you should know in order to get started with it using React or React Native. The video is going to be a bit long, but trust me, if you stick with me till the end, Redux will become really easy for you. Also, I recommend you to watch the video at 1.25 or 1.5 speed. Just a quick disclaimer, I'm assuming that you already have a basic knowledge of React or React Native and you are already aware of the fact why to use Redux in your projects. So without wasting much time, let's get started. So what I have done here is I have just created a brand new project with a command npx create react app and the project name, and this is the app, and I have deleted all the pre-written code, and the current state of the app looks something like this. It's just an empty screen. I have removed all the pre-written code. Okay, so one more thing, in this video we are going to cover the practical as well as theoretical concepts of Redux hand in hand. So let's get started. So first and foremost thing, let's install all the packages that are required in order to create our application. So the first package is the Redux itself. Redux is a standalone library that is used for state management. So let's first install Redux. So npm I redux -- save, hit enter, and the package will get installed. I have already done this, so I won't do it again. And the next package that we will be requiring is react-redux. So as I already said, that Redux is a standalone library. So in order to use Redux with React, we need some kind of bridge which allow us to use the concepts of Redux with our React application. So this package has all the things that we need to use Redux with our React application. So install this package too, and we will be ready to make our application. So let me first create a very small application, and then I'll guide you further. So I have already created one small application, so let me first get it included in my app.js, and then I'll walk you through what it is all about. So I have imported my component, and let me just include it here as well. We save this, and yeah, so this is a very basic simple application that I have created. It just has a counter. I can increment it and I can decrement the counter. So let me show you the code of this. So this is the file in which I have written the code for that counter management component. So this is the code. So I have created a class based component. In this I have created my state, and in this state there is only one state named counter, and I have set it the initial value to 0. Then in the return I have simply printed it out, and then there are two buttons. One is for increment, another one is for decrement. And on incrementing, I am simply incrementing the counter with 1, and on decrementing I am just simply decrementing the counter with 1. So this is a pretty simple application that I have created using Reactjs. This is nothing fancy. It is very basic application that I have just created by the fact that we already know about Reactjs. I have simply used the set state method to in order to set the state. So we are familiar with this kind of stuff till now. Now let's see how to use Redux, what is Redux, what all the things are there in Redux, and then how we can convert this very simple application into a Redux based application. So let's get started. See, the concept of Redux is very simple. What does it says? That just include all the states at a one global space, and this global space will be accessible throughout your application. Each and every component of your application can access that global space and can take the data whichever is required. Now first thing I need to clear is that states are of two types. The first state is a component specific state, and another type of state is the state that need to be shared between multiple component. So some example of component specific state can be, maybe there is a model on your screen and you want to manage whether it is open or closed. So maybe you are managing a state, is model open, false, true maybe, or maybe it's loading, is data available. So all this state example are an example of component specific state. So these are the states that you don't need to share with other components. These are the states that are only required for this current component to make it functional. But there are some kind of states like the JWT token or maybe user ID that you need to pass on to other components in order to work on that components. So if we don't use Redux, so we need to pass this states either using props or maybe by navigational params. But passing this states using props or navigational params can become really difficult when the application size grows. So in order to overcome this problem of passing states to multiple components, the concept of Redux was introduced. So the concept of Redux says that store all the states that need to be shared in multiple component into a global area, so that the complete app can just access to that store and can access the state. So let's get started with Redux. So first thing that we need to do is to create one global area. Okay, and that one global area will store all the shared state. So how to do that? So in order to create a store, we have a function named create store, and that is available in the package Redux. Now Redux has the property to create the store, hence the create store package is available in the package Redux. Okay, so how to create a store? So just make a constant store equal create store. That's it. This is how you create a store. Now when you create this store, the reference to this store will get stored on this constant. Now what happens when this function get run? So it will just create an empty space. You can assume this as an empty warehouse which has absolutely nothing in it. Absolutely nothing. Okay, pretty much fine. Now who can access this store? Who can manage this store? Who can update this store? So what does Redux says? That there can be only one person, we can say the manager or maybe the caretaker of the store. There can be only and only one person that can manage the store, and in the terms of Redux, we call this person as a reducer. So while creating the store, we need to pass who is that person. So reducer is going to be the person who is going to manage the store. He is the only one that has the permission to manage the store. From permission I mean to add something in store, to remove something from store, or to update something in store. So this is going to be the work of reducer, and only one reducer is allowed to manage the store. Although if you later you will learn that you can create multiple reducers, but all of them at the end are going to be combined in one big reducer, and that will be managing the store. So only one reducer can manage the store. Okay, fine. So while creating the store, we have told the store that reducer is going to be the person who is going to manage the store. Okay, one more thing, I am currently working in the index.js file because we need to provide the store to our complete application. So index.js is the entry point. So once we have done with the store creation, we will see how to provide it to our application. Okay, so store has been created and we have defined who is going to manage it. Now the question comes, how does he will know that who is this reducer? So before creating the store, we need to create a reducer. So let me create a reducer first. Now I'll tell you what does this state and action do. Let me first create it. So as I already said, when this create store will get executed, just an empty space will get created which have nothing in it. So who will add up the things in this store? So reducer is going to add the things. So whatever this reducer will return, whatever the reducer will return, that thing will get stored in our store. Whatever is returned by reducer is stored in our store. So this is the first fundamental concept. Whatever thing is returned by the reducer, that is going to be stored in our store. So what are the parameters that is required by this reducer to properly work upon? So let me explain you using an example. So the first thing that the reducer will require is the current state, that is the current items that are already present in the store. For example, at any given point of time, consider that our store looks something like this, and store is nothing, is just a key value pair of our states. Okay, so consider at any given point of time, our store has 3 states. So the first thing that the reducer will take is the current state in our store, and the second thing is the action. Now action can be anything. Say for example, action passed is update balance, and what the reducer has to do, reducer has to update the account balance from 1000 to 15,000. So this is an action. Okay, so reducer take two things. One is the current state and an action that need to be performed on the current state. Okay, and now what reducer will return? So reducer will return a new state after performing the action. So how the action will be performed? First, what reducer will do? Reducer will make the copy of current state. It will make a copy of the current state. Then it will update the balance to 15,000, and then it will return this new copied state. Now why does the reducer make the copy and then do the changes and return this? Because in the world of Redux, the state inside a store is immutable. So state inside our store are immutable, means that we cannot change the state directly. We can only return a new set of state, and as I already said, that whatever thing reducer will return will get stored into our store. So if the reducer will return this, so this thing will get stored in the store. All the old things that were present in the store will get overwritten or will get removed, and the new thing that is returned from the reducer will get stored. Okay, so keep this in mind. All the previous stuff will get removed, and the new stuff that was returned by the reducer will get stored each and every time. So this is the second fundamental concept. So now we have seen that reducer taken state and an action. Now currently our store has absolutely nothing in it, so we need to store something in it, right, initially. So let's create an initial state that we will store in our store. So const initial state, I'm just making a counter in order to not to get confused. Let me name it as counter in store, or maybe yeah, counter in store is fine. And I'm setting it to 0. Fine. So when we are passing state, so if there is no any previous state available, then it will take initial state, else it will take the state if some state is already available to that. Okay, so it will take initial state, and let me just return state as of now, because reducer will always return state, and it will take state in action. Okay, so whatever state is written by the reducer, that is going to be stored in our store, and all the previous stored state will get removed, and only the new state that is returned by the reducer will get stored in the store. Okay, so whenever first time this reducer will get executed, there will be no state. So in the state, initial state will get assigned. So in the initial state there is only one state, one key value pair, that is counter and store. So this state will get returned. So finally this will get stored in our store. Okay, pretty much fine. Now as we have a state in our store, now let's see how to access this state, that we have created in our store in our different components. And before that, we have created the store, but we haven't tell our Reactjs code that there is something that is called as a store that you need to look upon, that you can access upon for getting your data. So the next thing is providing our store to the app. So next thing is to provide our store to the app. So for that, now see, providing the store to our app is something that we are trying to connect our React application to a Redux concept. Okay, so in order to achieve this, we need to have some kind of bridge which can do this. So this bridge is named as provider, and this is available in React-redux. Why this file is available in React-redux? Because we are trying to combine the React application with our Redux. Okay, now why provider? Because the name is self-sufficiently. Provider will provide the store that we have created to our app. So this is our app component. So what we just need to do, we need to just wrap our app component inside our provider. So now as we have wrapped the provider, as we have wrapped the app in the provider component, so now the question comes, how the app will come to know that what exactly needs to be provided. So we also need to mention what the provider need to provide to our app. Okay, so our provider need to provide in store, and the name of the store is store itself. Okay, so we are telling the provider to provide in store, which has the name is store, to our application. By doing this, we are making this store available to our complete application. Okay, so I think the use of provider is pretty much clear. So now let's see, as we have already provided this state to our complete application, so how can we access this state, this state counter in store? How can we access this counter in store state in this component? Okay, so let's see how to do this. Yeah, so now as we have provided that store to our application, so does it mean that we can simply use this dot state dot counter in store, like can we access the state that is provided in our store like this? So the answer to this question is absolutely no. You can't access any state that is provided in your store like this, because whenever you try to refer this dot state, then it means you are trying to refer a state that is local to your component. Only the states that you have defined within your component, you can access that state through this dot state. Keep that in mind. Okay, you can't simply access this dot state dot your this state in your components like this. Okay, so keep this in mind. So the question comes, how to access this counter in store state in our application. So in order to do so, in order to explain you this, let's see how we generally do this. Say for example, just assume that this is a class based component and we have a state here, say for example name. Just assume okay, we have a state name, and I want to pass this state to this component. So how will I do this? So what I will do this, I'll map this state value to some key. Say for example my name equal this dot state dot name. So what I'm doing, I am mapping this value to a name, and we name this thing as prop. Okay, so we are mapping a value to a prop, and to access this, what I will simply do, I can write this dot prop dot my name. Correct? We will do something like this. So see what we are doing, we are mapping a value, we are passing a state as a prop, we are passing a state as a prop to any other component. ठीक है? So and we are mapping this state to a prop, and this prop is passed down to the component. So similarly, in order to access this counter in store state to any other component, we need to pass this state as a prop to other component. Okay, so in order to access this counter in store state that is present in our store, we need to pass that state first as a prop, and then only we can access here with the help of prop. So now let's see how to pass that counter in store state as a prop to our this component. So in order to do so, what you have to do, you have to create an arrow function, and I will name that function as map state to props. See, the name is very sensible and very logical. We are mapping our state I mean the state that is present in our store to props, so that we can access the state that are present in our store with the help of props in our component. Okay, and this will take one parameter, and that is the store itself. Okay, and it will return a mapping of state to a prop. So I am naming it as ctr and store dot, what is the name, counter in store. Now I'll show you what I did here. So I have created an arrow function, map state to props, and this is taking one argument store. So the question comes, what is this store, and how is this store available to this function? So this store is nothing, so not store, this is a state, I'm sorry, this is state. So this state is nothing but the state that is present in our store. Okay, so this state is nothing but the state that is present in our store. So we are and what we are doing here, we are taking this state dot counter in store and mapping it to us prop name, any prop name. I have named it CTR, you can name it anything. So I'm just mapping the state that is present in our store to a prop name. If there are multiple states that you need to map to multiple props, then you can just do like this, like second prop and then state dot second state. I'm assuming that if there is some kind of name that's second state, then you can map to some prop. So if you have multiple things, then we will do something like this. Okay, so this is state. So we have mapped this state counter in store to CTR. Now the question comes, how is this state available here, and how will this CTR will be used as a prop here? Because this is just a normal arrow function. We haven't defined that our component, we haven't tell our component that you have some props that you can use. So how to connect our component to this, and how is this state available here? So for that, we need to connect all these things with each other. Correct, we need to connect our component to this function and this function to this state. So how is this thing going to take place? So for connecting, we need another supporting library. So that library is connect, and as again we are trying to connect Redux with React, so this is also available in React Redux package. Okay, cool. So this connect will help us to connect our component to our map state to props, and then map state to props with the state. So let's see how to do this. So it's very easy. See, just write connect, and first let's connect this map state to props with this state. Okay, so pass map, just pass the function name to connect. Okay, so when you execute this, when this thing will get executed, so connect executed. Okay, so why I have written this, I'll tell you in second. So first thing, we need to pass map this state, we need to pass this state to map state to props. So first we will execute the connect function, and we will pass this map state to props, so that this state can access the state that is available in our store. And what this thing will return, this thing will return a function. Okay, so on executing this connect, a function will be returned. Okay, then this will return a function, and this will get executed in this connect executed const. And now as this will return a function, so we can even execute this connect executed thing, because this is now a function, because this connect has returned a function. So we can now execute this function as well, and now we will pass our component name here. Okay, so here what we did in this line, we connected the state that is present in our store to this map state to props function. And now here what we are trying to do, now here we are trying to connect this map state to props with our component. Okay, so what this thing will return, so this thing will return a new wrapped class. With this thing will return a new wrapped class which has the access to this props, and this component will already know that whenever we are trying to refer this props, then ultimately we need to refer to the state counter in store. Okay, now as this is a new, so as it is returning a new wrapped class, so the value that is returned from this is our ultimate new class. So finally we need to export this new class. Finally we need to execute this new class so that our function, our component is the actual component that we need to use. Okay, now this is how the actual things work, but the way this thing is returned everywhere, the way you will find this thing written everywhere in every documentation is something like this. It will be like export default connect map state to props, and then your component name. What was your component name? My component, let me rename this. Manager. Counter manager here. So everywhere, instead of having these 3 lines, you will see only this one line. So I'll try to explain what is happening. So this is just a short form of what is happening here. So first this thing will execute, this is same as this, then it will return a function, and on that return function they are passing the component. So this will return a function, and on that function we are passing this counter manager, and ultimately it is returning a new class, and that class is being exported. So this is the syntax that you will see everywhere. Even if you refer to the documentation also, you can see in the connect we have the map state to props, just neglect this map dispatch to props as of now, and then we have the component name. Okay, so this annotation you will see everywhere, but this is how this annotation is exactly working. Okay, so this is how you will connect your function to your store and your this function to your component. Now as we have connected each and everything, so we can simply access this dot props dot ctr, and we can save this, and if we try to, I don't know whether it has been updated, let's see. Yeah, so as you can see, we can see the value 0 over here, but on incrementing and decrementing it won't do anything, because on increment and decrement we have still defined that you have to increment the state value, but we are displaying the props value. Okay, so even though the value of state is being incremented, we are not displaying it anywhere, hence we can't see any changes on the screen. Pretty much fine. Now let's see how to update this, state over here that we have in our store, so that we can make this thing functional again. Okay, so the next thing is to somehow pass some action to our store so that we can update our store. Okay, so the next step is to pass some action. Okay, so action can be like increment the store value or increment the counter value by 1. Action can be decrement the counter value by 1. So this are going to be our action, and who is going to pass this action? The action is going to be passed whenever the button is pressed. So the one who is going to pass the action is going to be our component. So how to pass this action? So passing an action from a component to a store is done via dispatch. Okay, so dispatch is responsible for passing an action from component to our reducer, and reducer will finally update the state present in store. Okay, so we will dispatch an action from our component. That action will be received by our reducer. Then on the type of the action, reducer will perform some operation on the state, and the new state will be returned, and that new state will be that new state is going to be stored in our store. Okay, so how to pass an action? So just like we access the things of state from here to here using props, so same thing we need to do for the action as well. So first thing, you need to make another function const map dispatch to props. This will take dispatch and it will return let me complete this, then I will explain what I'm doing. In counter dispatch counter. See, now what I have done here, I have created another arrow function. I have named as map dispatch to props. So what I have said, we have to dispatch some action to our reducer, and then on the basis of the type of the action, the reducer will perform some operation. ठीक है, तो map dispatch to props is a function that will map a prop name to an dispatched action. Now what is this dispatch? So this dispatch is again be provided by our Redux. So whenever we create this store, we have this dispatch thing ready. So we will figure it out how this dispatch is being accessed. So I will tell you how this dispatch is being accessed. So what we are doing, we are dispatching an action. Now how to write this? So in the dispatch you have to always dispatch an object. Okay, always you have to dispatch an object, and that object must have one key at least, with a key named type. Okay, must have one key at least with a key name typed. So in dispatch you have to pass an object with at least one key value pair, and the name of the key should be type. You can have any number of keys in it. The second most common key is a payload, in which you can pass literally another object with lots and lots of information, but as of now we don't need this, so I can simply remove this. Okay, so you need to dispatch an action, a type of action. So dispatch always take an object, and that object must have one value, that is type, and you need to specify it. So we are mapping this dispatch with a prop name increment counter, and we are mapping this dispatch with a prop name decrement counter. So now instead of calling this increment counter and decrement counter, we can call this dot props dot increment counter, and this dot props dot decrement counter. Okay, so now from here we can access this, and this on calling this prop, we are returning an action. So sorry, we are calling an function, so this function will be called, and this is a dispatch function, and this dispatch function is having a type increment, and this dispatch function is having a type decrement. Fine. So now the things comes, how is this dispatch available to this function, and how is this function is available to our component. So same thing as we did with our map state to prop. What we did, we connected map state to prop to the state first, and then we connected this map state to props to our component. Same thing we have to perform with this. First we need to connect this map dispatch to prop with this dispatch, and then this map dispatch to props with our component. So here just pass map dispatch to props as well, and this thing will return a function, and this function on, then we will execute this function, and in this function we will pass our component name and this component name, and we will execute this function again, and then this will return a class, and then finally we will export this class. Okay, so same as I have explained earlier, same thing. Okay, so export. So now this is how we can connect our map state to props and map dispatch to props to our component. Pretty fine. Now let's jump back to our index.js and let's jump to our reducer. Now here we can access the action. So if action, we will be receiving action, right? When we will dispatch, see, when we will dispatch from here, then our reducer will get called, and this dispatched thing, this object will get stored in this action variable. Okay, so in this action we can access the type because we have dispatched it from here. Okay, so if action dot type equals inc, then we have to perform some operation, and if action dot type equals dc, then we have to perform some other operation. Okay, so what is the operation that we need to perform? So as in the beginning I said, we can't update the current state that is present in our store. Okay, so we always need to return a new state. So on the action type, when the action type is increment, so we need to return a new state. What is that state going to be? So as of now we only have only one state, right? Now suppose there are two states in our store as of now. Assume like maybe value. Okay, so if we simply return counter in store to state dot counter in store plus 1. See what I'm doing here. On if the action type is increment, so I am returning a new object. In that object there is going to be one key, that is counter in store, and its value is going to be the current state dot counter in store, that is 0 plus 1, that is 1, and that is counter in store is having a value of 1 is going to be returned. So what I told that whatever thing is returned by the reducer is going to be our new store. So if assume our current store is having two states with value with one counter in store and another one is value, and if we simply return this, then our this store is going to be replaced by this, and we don't want this to happen, because if we do this thing then our remaining of the state will get lost. So first thing what we need to do, first thing is we need to copy all the state that is currently present in our store. So we need to copy this state, and this is an ES6 terminology. This is a spread operator we are using in order to copy the current state. So what we are doing over here is we are copying the current state. So what this spread operator will do, this will copy all the state that is present in our store, and then say for example if I am performing an operation on a state that is already present in this copied state, so it will update that. And if I am performing an operation, say for example some new state, and as this some new state is currently not present in our store, so if this is the case, then this new state will get appended to our store. Okay, so but in our case we are performing an action that is already present in our store, so the value of current counter in store will get updated. Okay, so always make the copy of the current state and then only make changes in your new state. Okay, so on increment we are incrementing the value with current state plus 1, and in the decrement we will decrement by 1. State return state comma counter in store to state dot counter in store minus 1. Now if I test this out, yeah, so as you can see we are able to increment and decrement our values. So let me quickly walk you through with all the things that we have done so far. Let's revisit everything. So first thing what we did, we created a store using create store. This method is provided by Redux. Then what does create store says? Create store says that you need to provide me one person that can update me, that can add things inside me, that can delete things from me. Okay, so we need to pass that person. So the person name is reducer. So first we need to create reducer. Reducer takes two things, state and action, and it returns another state. Whatever state that is being returned by the reducer gets stored in our store, and the old data that was present in our store gets removed. Okay, so we done this. Then the store that we have created, so we need to pass this store to our application. So we use provider. We provided the store to the provider and wrap our app component to the in the provider. So by doing this, we make this complete store available to our application. Now, how did we access this store in our components? So we done this using map state to props and map dispatch to props. So first we made these two functions, then we connected these functions to our component, and then we used this state as props in our components. Now on click of the button, we dispatched some action. In the dispatch we need to have type, and we can have many key value pairs, but at least in this object you must have a type, and based on this type we have written some logic to update our this counter in store state that is present in our store. So this is how Redux works. In the first go it is bit lengthy, but I have tried to simplify the things as easy as possible. I tried to explain all the things in as easy manner as possible. This is not a complete Redux guide. There is more advanced concept that is awaiting ahead of this video, but I'm pretty sure that if you have understood this concept of whatever things I have explained you, then for sure learning the advanced concept will be really easy for you. I hope you have understood the concept of Redux. How does it work? If you have any confusion about like what thing is doing what, so you can comment down below. I'll try to respond you. One more thing, whenever we are performing any update in this state that is present in our store, so the changes automatically get reflected over here, because our component here is subscribed means just like we subscribe a YouTube channel, what we do, if we subscribe, then any changes, any updates, any uploads that a YouTuber do, we get a notification, right? So similarly, if this component is subscribed to this state present in our store, so if there is any change in the state that is present in the store, so our component will get the notification and will get the updated value, and our component will update its value to the updated value. Okay, so this is how our changes are being reflected over here. So this is pretty much it for the video. I hope you have understand the concept of Redux. So this is pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. Bye bye.